I am your host, Patrick Vallejos, and we are broadcasting to the world live from Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome on in. We'll get started in just a few. Lots I want to discuss today. 1994 cold case of Megan Johns, who was 19 years old at the time. This case was out of Irving, Texas. This was recently solved. She was killed by her neighbor. I want to talk about a very disgusting pair, Darian Randall, who is a mother, and her boyfriend, Cedric Britton. So she's 31-year-old Darian Randall. He is 44-year-old Cedric Britton. She killed her 3-year-old daughter and faked an abduction. I want to talk about that and how vile these people are and how vile people can be. Let's talk about the P. Diddy trial. And also want to touch on Carrie Rosson, the daughter of the BTK killer, currently reaching out to Rex Heuermann's family and counseling them. Remember, she stood right where they stood, standing now. Before we do that, let me know what you guys would like to talk about. If there's any news, breaking news, what the word on the street is, and anything, and then we'll get into these stories here. Alrighty. So welcome in, everybody. Looks like we have Mark. Good to see you, my friend. She Warrior Mustang. Karen Hick, how you doing? Today is Friday, June 13th. We are well into the hundreds, and it's hot here in Phoenix, Arizona. Hopefully you guys are staying cool, staying safe. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. Like I said, if you can't hit the Cash App, please hit the like button. Welcome in, Miss Dog Lovers in the building. Happy Friday to you. And don't forget, Sleuth Crew, we are everywhere. We're everywhere. You know, it's not just a saying, it's true. Mustang, happy Friday to you. Happy Friday the 13th, by the way. So if you want to go get a cheap tattoo, today is the day. Or if you're a psychopath, sadistic killer, you might be triggered today for whatever reason. Boston Christian, good to see you. So the cases today is going to be the 1994 cold case, Megan Johns. This is going to be very interesting. Maybe we can even profile the killer or just bring some attention to the fact that her killer was her next door neighbor. How scary is that? Right? You leave she's only 19 years old. You leave your loved one home alone. Your worst nightmare is some random stranger selecting your home, as a target for whatever reason. Maybe they think nobody's home. It's a burglary gone wrong. But nobody imagines their neighbor stalking and coveting, your young teen daughter. Thank you. Appreciate that. She's an amazing lady. Cyber Warrior, what's up? Lori Clayton, welcome in. Super sticker from Mustang. Right out the gate. Thank you, Mustang. Remember, guys, we're 100% crowdfunded. We're trying to make a go at this YouTube thing. It's most likely not going to happen, but we have some time to try to make it work. We're not going to do any grifting. We're not going to do any e-begging. But like I said, it's up to you guys. We can't make it without you. Let's build this bitch up. We're almost to 10K. Let's hit 10K and then just take everything over. So go spread the word. The most chill YouTube channel you can find. We just kick back, talk about true crime, try to stay away from the drama, do our best not to re-victimize family members. We do a lot of speculation around here, a lot of theorizing, a lot of amateur hour type stuff, when it comes to psychopathy and giving our opinions and profiling, but we're honest about it. And we do have good resources around here. We work with cold case detectives, retired law enforcement, homicide. That's just what we do. If we want something done, we could do it. We just haven't had a real reason to mobilize recently. Nothing that we could really sink our teeth into as a cohesive unit. For instance, we were running a Facebook group about 2 years ago on the Delphi murders. And we had an individual that came in there claiming to be the actual Delphi killer. He said, I still have the knife, even threatened to kill 2 children of one of the group members. Within an hour, they had this guy's full name. They had his address. They had alerted his fiance. They had contacted his boss, local law enforcement, and he was questioned by police within an hour. So if you want to talk about a FOFA minute or moment, there you go. You don't really want to be on the tail end when somebody's wielding the sword of social media. It cuts quite deep. So let's build up. Let's get some roots embedded in the soil of YouTube here. Borealis, what's up? Lori Clayton says, happy weekend, everyone. Stay cool. So are there any cases that you guys are covering? Anything specific? I know we're always talking about the Delphi murders. We cover the Idaho College murders quite often here. We stay up to date on that. Most of you aren't really interested into it, but I am personally, and I'm referring to the Karen Reed case. It's just interesting to see the prosecution and the defense kind of put their own spin on things, and how the rest of the world just kind of sits back and acts like we have a justice system. You know what I mean? It's really embarrassing, honestly. We're not as civilized as we like to think we are. Hot and stormy. How does that work? Miss Dog Lover, same here. Weather in Arkansas. Shout out to London and Arkansas. That's interesting that you brought that up, Miss Dog Lover. I was just thinking about Madeline McCann this morning. Yeah, they're still. Hopefully, they don't have tunnel vision, but they got a good suspect, and I believe the search was related to him. Borealis, it's gotten to game playing and reality twisting versus logical debate. Yeah, that's true. It's all about the spin, right? Let's put the spin on it. At least when we put the spin on things, we call it an alternate universe like we did yesterday. Upside Downsville. Mark, a lot of talk about today. You're referring to Friday the 13th? Dun, dun, dun. Here, I got something for you guys. Run for your lives. Apparently, there is a possible serial killer of middle-aged men in Indianapolis or hiking trails. Shit, there might be one out here in Arizona. We have Emily Pike, Pandora, and Evan over in Mount Ord. I mean, they might not be related. It's just strange. It's serial killer shit, related to the highways and traveling. It's not somebody just dumped outside of a city, 10, 15 miles. It's somebody traveling hours on end. It's almost as if they do it for a living, right? Like a truck driver. Most serial killers select that as their living. I don't know why. Long haul truck driving, right? Multiple jurisdictions. Definitely it's going to be a target that doesn't know you, right? Most likely a sex worker, lot lizard, as they call them. Nobody's even going to care. All of their friends say, oh, well, she went back home. Maybe she went to rehab. When reality, the serial killer is already probably in possession of another victim in their, I don't know, their big rig or hotel or whatever it is, however they operate. There was another series of murders I was beginning to look into. Maybe you guys can help me. If anybody has been researching the West Mesa murders, apparently that's another serial killer targeting sex workers. Why do they target sex workers? Easy target, right? Most of these people are psychotic. They want to hurt somebody without receiving any resistance. That's why they start with animals, right? Animals are easy targets. And also, while they're fantasizing about killing, they're thinking, well, how do I get possession of these people to kill them? Like, how do I actually get them? I could do an ambush. I could lure them to the Monon High Bridge and, force them down on the south end of the bridge. I could pass by the victim randomly and be an opportunistic killer with zero control. But the bottom line is they need their victim. So target a sex worker. She'll get in your car for you. Nobody will really be looking for her for a while, right? Go ask Ted Bundy. Go ask Gary Ridgway, Rex Heuermann, Bit Rolf. I mean, that's the target of choice, sex workers. Yeah, you mentioned a few cases at the beginning of the stream. Yep. 19-year-old Megan Johns was a 1994 cold case, was solved a few days ago. That's out of Irvin, Texas. She was killed by her neighbor, which is terrifying, right? People leave their children home. Oh, we're going to go up the street. We'll leave our 13, 14-year-old kid home. Meanwhile, you got the neighbor looking over the fence, watching them. So what do they say? Unlocked a new fear. There you go. If you need any help with that, there you go. Unlocking a new fear. Being basically stalked by your neighbor. And then I believe it was yesterday, 31-year-old Darian Randall, which is a mother, and her boyfriend, 44-year-old Cedric Britton, killed her 3-year-old daughter, and then faked an abduction and recently was found out. Right? Went from victim, like leave her alone, don't you dare accuse her. How dare you come up with a conspiracy theory about this person? To she beat her to death with a belt, lied to police and said that she was robbed and carjacked. Sounds familiar, right? And then we're going to dive into the P. Diddy case, talk a little bit about Carrie Rosson. We might start with that. Carrie Rosson is basically counseling Rex Heuermann's family on how to deal with the PTSD of having a father that's a serial killer. Joni Sullivan, what's up? FBI says 25 to 50 active serial killers in the U.S. Yep, and they're hiding in plain sight. All right, so let's start here. Carrie Rosson. Whoops. Carrie Rosson is the daughter of Dennis Rader, the bind, torture, kill serial killer. One of the most prolific, well, maybe not the most prolific, but one of the most well known for his cat and mouse like tactics with law enforcement, which eventually led to his capture. So this might be a New York Times article. Yeah, I believe so, by George Fitzgibbon, and it was published this morning. Titled Daughter of Notorious BTK Killer Counsels Kin of Accused Gilgo Beach Serial Killer Shocked by the Similarities. Here, let me pull up my Rex folder. Let's get a look at these folks. Ellerup is her name. Asa Ellerup. Interesting name. Sharing the screen, sorry. Borealis. A reason I'm so interested is because I can't imagine what it's like to have wires crossed so much where harming something becomes enjoyable. Well, it's the scariest part about it is because you don't know. There's no flag. Like there's no real red flags. Some of these people are chameleons. They're on their way to CVS and they're fantasizing about killing and raping young children. And then when you come up to the counter and you're like, "Hey, I would like to purchase these items here." "Oh, how's your day going?" "Oh, it's good." "Hey, that person was really nice." That CVS cashier was really nice. And then they leave and they go log on to the computer, onto the dark web, and they do a bunch of nasty shit, or they do whatever it is that they do, torture animals, stalk people at night. So they're basically two different people, like a split personality type. So it's kind of like that's what Carrie Rosson is trying to help these folks deal with. Unless they knew. Could be on some Addams Family shit. You don't know. The Red Queen, welcome. Eli, good to see you. CJK. All right. The broken family of accused Gilgo Beach murderer Rex Heuermann got a helping hand from one of the few people who could provide it, the daughter of notorious jailed serial killer. I know what it's like to live with a psychopath. Carrie Rosson, the daughter of BTK killer Dennis Rader, who butchered 10 victims, said in Peacock's new docuseries on the Gilgo Beach case. Rosson's father was one of the nation's most infamous serial killers, adopting his nickname for his affinity for binding, torturing, and killing his victims, all while being a married father of two. Father of two. I think there might be another family member here, but I might be wrong. He might be a father of three, Rexy boy. Is series killing hereditary? I don't know. I was thinking about that the other day. Because one of my favorite movies is Mr. Brooks. And in the movie Mr. Brooks, his daughter ends up killing him. And she becomes a psycho killer. It's almost like it was hereditary or something. What's up, Davey? Jury about to go back and deliberate in the Karen Reed case. Oh, shit. Yeah, we're definitely going live on that if we get a result today. What do you guys think? Here, let's do a quick poll. Karen Reed. Guilty? Not guilty. Hung. Yeah, CJK says, I'm sure when people interacted with Dahmer that some didn't get creepy vibes from him. Have you seen any of his like old home videos where he's hanging around with his parents? He seems like they're it just seems like something's bothering him. But they seem to have a normal family. So yeah, he was definitely a chameleon type. What's up, Jill? Good to see you. Eli says, Sleuth, here is a case not solved. Franklin, Indiana, China, and Blake. Why does that sound familiar? Okay, when Rex was arrested, my PTSD hit right away because of what my family had gone through. Rosson said in the 3-part series, The Gilgo Beach Killer, House of Secrets. Her thoughts immediately went to Huerman's family, including wife Asa and two kids who were similar ages to what my brother and I were when my father was arrested in '05, she said. He was arrested in '05. That can't be right. My heart just broke in two, Rosson said. I was shocked by the similarities. Rader, a former Cub Scout leader and Christ Lutheran Church higher up, was finally busted February 25th, 2005. Decades after slaughtering victims in the Wichita and Park City areas between 1974 and 1991. My father lived a double life, Rosson told filmmakers. He was hiding in plain sight for 31 years. So that's the part that scares me. You know, the psychology of it, yeah, that's all interesting. But the part that scares me is the hiding in plain sight. The people that you're interacting with from day to day. Like how many times have you come in contact with a serial killer? Think about it. This guy, please don't let your husband kill me. We're friends, right? Ah, Karen, I know my childhood friend, his nephew. Who's that? How's it going, Davey? He says, not guilty. Honestly, I wouldn't be upset with that. I mean, I feel like she most likely hit him, and either way, it was manslaughter. But the way that they conducted that investigation might be their fault. If she does get a not guilty, it's their fault. It's not hers. It's something that they did, and hopefully they learn from it, and hopefully John O'Keefe's family can pursue it through a civil matter. But honestly, she's most likely going to get manslaughter, and they'll give her like 5, 6, maybe 10 years. Maybe it'll be a slap on the wrist. Joni, how you doing? Mother had mental illness. Whose mother had mental illness? What you talking about, Willis? Yeah, I don't think she's innocent. Hey, Tech Death, what's up? How the hell are you? Evan Peters, Eli. Yeah, that's why he's kind of so fascinating, why he's become so popular amongst true crime enthusiasts. It's not because he's the most prolific serial killer like Ted Bundy or Gary Ridgway. They were really driven by numbers. Like Gary Ridgway made a comment to the FBI that he was trying to be the most prolific serial killer. He was trying to kill over 100 women in 1 year. I mean, you can't even wrap your head around that. It's 100 different families affected. 100 people who had to literally live through a horror movie. And these demons feed off of that. Really, I think that's what it's all about, is that fear and that total control. And then the power, almost like feeling like a god. Like, hey, I took a life. Everybody else around me, they're afraid to do it. I can just do it. Like, I just take lives. If I feel the need to and I feel like I can get away with it, I'll kill. But us, we're like God fearing, moral, loving. The last thing we're thinking about is harming another individual. These people are literally waiting for an opportunity to see the life disappear out of your eyes and then chop you up in a bunch of little pieces. And then when the news crew shows up, they go and give an interview. Like, oh, yeah, that was my neighbor. We were good friends. I helped with the search. To me, that's the scary shit right there. The chameleon part of it. And we have it so wrong all the time. Like we try to profile a serial killer and we're thinking heavy metal, Satanism, and, all this hardcore dark stuff. But in reality, this motherfucker's probably more like Hannibal or something, listening to classic rock or classical music, just something totally off the wall that you wouldn't associate with the serial killer or mass murder. You think of somebody getting hyped up, like the Machine in that movie 8mm. Remember, he puts the leather mask on and puts on some like Chemical Brothers music on vinyl. Like that's what you think of when you think of a serial killer, some madman carrying around a chainsaw, right? Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But we have it so wrong. It could be anybody. Remember the kid that just randomly killed a homeless man, chopped off his head and brought it home? He lived in a wealthy family, a normal family. And his mom found a head in his room. And while he was being interviewed by local law enforcement, he said, yeah, I knew I'd be in this room one day. He's all, but I didn't know if I'd be sitting on that side of the table or this side of the table, but I knew I'd be here. So that creeps me out too. So you got serial killers thinking, I'm either going to be an investigator or the actual serial killer. What's that say about our local law enforcement and our investigators out there? See, I'm watching all of you. Here, let me put this back up on the screen. This is how I feel most of the time. Watching the watchers and what they're watching. Actually, let's put this back up here. There it is. Let's see. Hewerman, a 59-year-old married architect with 2 children, when he was arrested in July 2023, is accused of killing 7 sex workers over a span of more than 30 years, mutilating several victims. So why sex workers? Well, you don't have to kidnap anybody. You don't have to risk doing some kind of strange crime, in the middle of the day or at nighttime, all these witnesses. You simply pull up. Both are eager to stay anonymous, low key, right? And then your victim gets right in the car with you. And they also don't panic when you take them to some kind of hidden location. That's typical. But once they get to the hidden location, that's it. It's over with. The torture begins, the psychological torture, the weird rituals. Yeah, all kinds of shit. Joni says easy prey. Yep. That's what they want. Less resistance, the better. Because they're cowards deep down. That's what they are. They know that they're heading towards prison, but it's almost like the luck of the draw. Who will be the victim that sends them there? That's also another terrifying thought, right? These individuals who perpetrate these true crimes, They know that they're heading to prison their entire life. They know one day I'll be in prison for murder or for rape or sexual assault. They're headed there. They know it. Their family probably knows it. But either way, they know they're headed to prison. The question is, who's going to be the victim that makes that happen? Who's going to be the lucky participant on their journey to prison? Vile breed loves. What's that? I don't know what you're talking about. Joni, never leave yourself vulnerable. Always be aware of your surroundings. And that even goes for your inner circle. You know, serial killers have brothers, they have sisters, they have wives, they have children, they have fellow church members, fellow employees. They might even be a boss or an underling. They might be your landscaper. They might be the cashier at your favorite gas station. You know, the guy that you laugh about and you get your lottery ticket from. A lot of these people are going home and they have a missing young woman, child, man, woman, child, whoever, could be anything really. You know, there's nothing that they won't do. There's no type of person they won't victimize. But they could leave their cashier job at your favorite gas station and go home to a prisoner that's being held captive for the last 15 years in their basement. We have millions of missing people. I think it's like up to 500 or like 900,000 right now. A lot of these people are in somebody's home right now, still alive. And the number is probably scarier than we could even imagine. Like, what if it's up to like 10,000? 10,000 missing women, men, children, missing people just being held and tortured in somebody's home across the United States of America. How would you conduct that investigation without violating people's rights and privacy? I wonder if you could do like a overhead scan of everybody's home. I don't even know if that's legal. And then people could just find ways around it, I'm sure. Hey, Goat Dog, what's up? I was a video on Ewu about a guy, Timothy Kendrick, who called himself the King of Columbus. Oh, who killed a guy and posted the whole thing on Snapchat, and he had no clue that he did it. Yeah, that's insanity right there. That's the definition of insanity. But most people who are the perpetrator in those types of crimes usually turn themselves in right away. Like, even they are appalled. Like, I'm pretty sure I went crazy and did this, and I'm disgusted by that fact. Please lock me up, put me in a hospital. I'm obviously sick. The guy who did my eye test was really weird. I have a radar for these things. Me too. It's your intuition, your gut. I agree with that, Joni. Don't trust anybody. Don't trust me. Don't trust these people in chat. I mean, you can trust them, but don't trust them, right? Don't ever make yourself vulnerable or a target. Because you might be normal. You know, hey, somebody's being nice to you all the time. Hey, give me your email. Now you guys are talking. You're emailing each other. Oh my God, you're such a sweetheart. And then one day something happens and it just rubs you the wrong way. You're like, oh, that was kind of weird. So you kind of stop talking to that person. That person just gets weirder and weirder and weirder. Because what you don't realize is you were being groomed by some kind of weirdo. So be careful. What's going on, Cindy Lean? Always good to see you. So, what do you guys make of the whole Israel bombing Iran thing? Is this just a military operation, or are we going to war? It's definitely ain't the first time. Let's see. Rosson says, when you're talking about a father, their actions get placed on the family, she said. I wasn't alive for 7 of the 10 of my father's murders, and I was at the most 12 years old for the last. Why are you, as a society, putting that back on me? Why are you putting this on Rex's kids? She asked. They had nothing to do with any of this. But Rosson also believes Ellerup is in denial and even rolls her eyes at the long-suffering wife's loyalty to her accused serial killer husband during the docuseries. I'm seeing that Asa's stuck in a loop of going. She was here on this date, and she was gone this day, and he did this. And I understand what that's like, that fog of not knowing and questioning everything. I understand having reasonable questions. Is she in denial? Is she lying? Is she disassociated? Thing is, when you're sitting in the cheap seats with popcorn, you're in hindsight land. Oh, I like that one. Hindsight land. It's kind of like my True Crimesville. True Crimesville and hindsight land. Goat Dog, imagine how many people are being held like that in Mexico. The cartels have the whole country on lockdown. They start killing people with guns at age 12. Then they start dissolving them in acid by 16. Yeah, that's disgusting. That's probably what happens to a lot of victims, just dissolved in acid. Because you see these psychotic, sadistic killers and how their mind kind of works. Lots of times they'll dismember their victim and then try to burn them, thinking that everything will burn up. But then they realize, hey, the bones are still in there. So now what? So they're constantly trying to figure out like what to do. How do I get my victim? And then how do I get rid of it? Because they don't give a shit. It's like trash. It's like, I'm hungry. Where am I going to go eat today? I want to eat out. Where am I going to go eat? It's like a craving. And then they go out and they fulfill and indulge. Then they come back home feeling wonderful, right? Feeling fulfilled. But guess what? Next week, they get another craving. Ah, shit. Cindy Lean flexing on them big. Look at that bicep. Yeah, that's heavyweight shit right there. Gang, gang, Cindy. Karen Hick, who's on your screen? That's Asa Ellerup. It's an interesting coffee table. The hell is that? Dear neighbors, we are thinking of you through this difficult time. If there's anything we can do for you, please let us know. Please don't kill us. This cop has a little sugar in his tank, I think. What's up, She Warrior? Aw, snap, Cindy. Thank you so much. Big thank you to Mustang and Cindy. So remember, guys, if you can't hit the Cash App, hit the like button. Little sugar in his tank. You mean you know that she had to have snooped around and found something in that junk-filled house? She's in denial, in my personal opinion. You don't live someone for 30 years. And also, she seemed to have traveled a lot. That would have given him, more opportunity to let that freak flag fly. Kind of like with Richard Allen. Around the time that Libby and Abby were murdered, Richard Allen was going through a rough patch in his life, and he had time to himself. So the result of psychopath, in my opinion, having free time is really not a good thing. So I'd say something free players puppets. Almost looks like a band. That's right, Mar. Gang, gang. Man, he loves that dog. He's spoiling the shit out of that dog. So I don't think if it's hereditary, he didn't get those genes. Dang, she's trying to hustle. What are these, more chew toys for the dog or what? That's all he cares about. I like this guy. All right, let's talk a little bit about this case now. Baby Nola, 3-year-old Nola Dinkens, she's a little toddler, was killed by her mother, Darian Randall. This was very upsetting to read the details of this case. Just another psychopathic killer. No remorse, no shame. No different than taking out the trash. All right. So the poll question right now, let's give an update on that. So Karen Reed, is she guilty or not guilty? Apparently they're deliberating. The jury's deliberating as we speak. Or is it going to be a hung jury? I think they're going to find her guilty on vehicular manslaughter. The second-degree murder is just going to be too hard to prove what her intent was. But I think it's pretty clear that she did hit John. And I think that's the only way he's going to get justice, is with that kind of a charge, which I think is fair. Despite all the conspiracy theories, it's obvious that she hit that man. And if we know anything about Defense Team 101, we know it's their job to create doubt and to create a third-party suspect or an alternate theory. It's their job to do it. It's not your job to fall for a hook, line, and sinker, right? They're hoping that the jury does that. But you have a responsibility to yourself not to do that. Yeah, this is extremely sad, you guys. Here, I have an article and some notes that I gathered from just throughout online. Maybe we'll read those first. Okay, so Darian Randall is 31 years old and resides in Northeast Cecil County, Maryland. She was living with her boyfriend, Cedric Antoine Britton, at a home on Elk Nest Drive at the time of the incident. Randall was in a relationship with Cedric Antoine Britton, aged 44, who was also charged in connection with the case. They resided together with Randall's daughter, Nola Dinkens. So they all lived together. Piece of shit 1, Darian, and piece of shit 2, Cedric. Okay. Randall is the mother of 3-year-old Nola Dinkens, the victim in this case. No additional details about other family members or her personal background, such as employment or prior history, are given here. The crime occurred on June 9th, 2025 at the home Randall shared with Britton in Northeast Maryland. According to court documents, Randall admitted to beating her daughter, Nola Dinkens, to death with a belt on the morning of June 9th, 2025. She stated that after the beating, Nola fell to the ground, was unresponsive, and was not breathing. Randall and Britton allegedly placed Nola's body in a blue suitcase, left it on the basement stairs overnight, and later disposed of it. Randall checked on the suitcase during the night, and Britton reportedly took it to a vacant lot, sending Randall a picture of a park afterward. Human remains believed to be Nola's were found in a vacant lot in Cecil County, Maryland, after police questioned Britton at the residence. The discovery led to the cancellation of the Amber Alert and the case being reclassified as a homicide. Initial report on June 10th, 2025, Randall contacted Newcastle County Police in Delaware, claiming that Nola had been kidnapped at gunpoint around 7:15 p.m. She described a white man, approximately 40 years old, bald with peach fuzz, wearing a black hoodie and gray basketball shorts, who allegedly approached her vehicle, pointed a handgun at her and Nola, and took the child before fleeing in an SUV driven by a white woman. Doesn't that sound familiar? Let me see if I still have my Susan Smith file. There it is, Susan Smith, open file location. So do you guys remember Susan Smith? So apparently psychopaths are also racist, right? So in Susan Smith's case, she said, "Oh, my children were abducted by a black man." Darian Randall says, "No, my children were abducted by a white man and a white woman." Do you guys remember that case? I'll put it back up on the screen if you don't. She recently thought she was going to get paroled. Good thing she wasn't. So Susan Smith, this is the description of her fake kidnapper. We're going. Those are her 2 boys. Locked them in the car and drove them into the lake. And then she came out on national TV saying, "Oh, they were kidnapped by a black man. He put the gun in my side. He poked me in the side with the gun. Like, it was ridiculous. And this poor man had no clue that he was married to a psychopath.
At this point, based on what happened last night, do you know anything better about it now than you did last night?
Can you guys hear that?
They've got people everywhere looking for them. I mean, you can hear the helicopters out there, and
you can hear the helicopters.
But they haven't seen anything, and it's crazy. And it's been since 9 o'clock last night. And I really thought that when it got daylight, they would find them just in a heartbeat. But
finally, in a heartbeat, they just had it. Like, you can just hear how fake it is. But the truth is, at this time, there were a lot of people who believed her. Some people are susceptible to the manipulation of psychos.
Was there anything about the demeanor of the man that gives you concern?
No, in fact, when he made me get out of the car, I tried to get my children. I was, just begged him, please let me take them. And he said no, he didn't have time because they were in car seats and it was going to take time for me to get them out of the car.
Shut the fuck up, you liar. Let's go to Mustang. Sleuth, when Susan Smith did that, my grandma believed her, but I thought she was faking. See, there you go. Your grandma today would be a pro burger, a free Richard Allen, and a free Karen Reed type person, because she is susceptible to the manipulation of psychopaths. All right, let's get back to Nola's case. 3-year-old Nola. Okay, let's see. She said they were wearing a black hoodie and gray basketball shorts, who allegedly approached her vehicle, pointed a handgun at her and Nola, and took the child before fleeing in an SUV driven by a white woman. Right? Obviously, it's a white woman. Randall claimed Britton was with her at the time. This report prompted an Amber Alert in Delaware. Investigators quickly determined Randall's story was false. Maryland State Police visited Britton's home in Northeast as part of the missing child's investigation and reviewed security camera footage, which showed only Randall leaving the house without Nola. During interviews, Randall made false and misleading statements, but eventually confessed to the murder and the fabricated abduction story. The Amber Alert was canceled on June 11th after the remains were found and the investigation shifted to a homicide case. Randall faces multiple charges in Maryland, including first and second-degree murder, first-degree child abuse resulting in the death of a minor under 13, first and second-degree assault, reckless endangerment, child abuse, neglect of a minor, burying, disposing of a body in an unauthorized place. That's weird. Failing to report a child's death. In Delaware, she is also charged with 1 count of felony falsely reporting an incident. Randall is currently in custody at the Baylor Women's Correctional Institution in Newcastle, Delaware, held on $1 million cash bail. She is awaiting extradition to Maryland for the murder charges. A preliminary court hearing is scheduled for June 23rd, 2025. Cedric Antoine Britton has been charged with first and second-degree murder after the fact and other related offenses. He is in custody in Maryland with a Cecil County District Court appearance scheduled. His role appears to involve assisting Randall in disposing of Nola's body and corroborating her initial false statements. Right? She had an alibi. How do you get away with murder? All you need is an alibi. Doesn't even have to be a person. It could be your cell phone, apparently. So the investigation involved multiple agencies, including Maryland State Police, Newcastle County Police, and the FBI, which joined the search for Nola before the case was reclassified. Maryland State Police played a key role in uncovering the false report by visiting Britton's home and reviewing evidence. So imagine beating this young girl. I mean, she must have been beating her with the belt buckle. Or just didn't stop. What kind of a monster she must be, right? In order to do something like that to Nola. Crazy. And to have another person just kind of sitting back and supporting you in what you're doing instead of stopping you and saving Nola. Yeah, this is very heartbreaking. CJK. But back then, with no social media, people weren't aware of so many cases of parents killing their kids. So the grandma probably thought, no way would a loving mom kill her kids. Well, you had America's Most Wanted, you had Unsolved Mysteries, you have local writers, you had newspapers. I mean, people knew what was going on. Not like they do today. You know, they're not informed like we are, but they still knew. But yeah, it's probably less likely. It was easier back then, I think, for a psychopath killer, a psycho killer, to hide in plain sight. Remember the one from Boston in 1989 where the husband shot his wife and blamed a black guy? Charles and Carol Stewart were their names. I was young, but I remember that being national news. People are gross. Yeah, so apparently these psychotic killers are very racist. Something they do. Something to look out for. You know? Might be a bit of a red flag. All right, let's talk about this case, which was just solved about 3 days ago. Megan John was murdered in 1994 by her neighbor, Daryl Patrick Goggins. He was arrested June 10th, charged with capital murder. Let's check on the Karen Reed poll. Apparently, the jury's deliberating on her case right now, or will be today. So I asked you guys, the Sleuth crew, is Karen Reed going to be guilty, not guilty, or a hung jury? I think they're going to find her guilty of manslaughter and not guilty on the second-degree murder. And they'll probably give her about 10 years. CJK, and if you're in a place where you don't want your child, why not talk to a family member, a grandparent, and ask if they would be a legal guardian? Well, when you're a psycho, you don't care. You don't care about the child. You might even be relieved that you've killed this person. There might even be a bit of relief. Let's take it. The Irving cold case refers to the 1994 murder of Megan Johns. She was a 19-year-old woman killed in her apartment in Irving, Texas. For 30 years, the case remained unsolved until a recent DNA breakthrough led to the arrest of her next-door neighbor, Daryl Patrick Goggins. Megan Johns was found murdered in her apartment in 1994. The exact circumstances of her death, such as the cause, were not detailed in the sources, but it was a violent crime and stumped investigators. Initial efforts yielded no viable suspects, and the case went cold. Over the years, evidence was preserved, including DNA samples collected at the scene. So, I mean, they couldn't solve this case, and it was done by the neighbor. In 2024 or early 2025, advancements in forensic DNA analysis allowed police to re-examine evidence, leading to a match with the neighbor. This likely involved genetic genealogy or enhanced DNA profiling techniques common in recent cold case resolutions. Let's go ahead and watch this presser. I think it's about 20 minutes long.
Stand beside me on this side. Y'all come stand on the other side for me. Y'all come stand on the other side. Just come stand right here. Is this okay, guys? Y'all ready? Okay, my name is Derek Miller. I'm the chief of police in Irving. Derek is D-E-R-I-C-K.
I think so, Goat Dog.
Last name is Miller, M-I-L-L-E-R. Today, we close a terrible chapter that began 3 decades ago. On October 5th, 1994, a life was stolen, a family lay shattered, and a community fell broken. For 30 years, justice has been patient, and justice does not forget. Today, I'm announcing the arrest of Daryl Patrick Goggins for the 1994 murder of Megan Johns. Megan was the light in the lives of those who knew her, who came face to face with a man who inevitably and brutally stabbed her to death. To give more information about the case, I'd like to introduce Detective Eric Curtis, who has worked on this case for the past 3 years and who was instrumental in searching for the right company and the right technology to test the evidence that was preserved in this case. Detective Curtis.
Hello. So this happened in October of 1994. Megan's coworkers, she had not shown up for work, so they contacted the apartment complex, asked them to go check on her. And when they did, they found that she was deceased. It was obvious that she had been murdered, and they called the Irving Police Department. The investigation began then. Retired Sergeant Rowan here, he led the investigation back then. A lot of work went into the case, but unfortunately at the time there was no leads that they were able to establish who he committed this murder. Over the years,
let's go to Mustang real quick. So satisfying to see these old cases solved. The piece of shit that did it thought he got away with it forever. Yeah, I mean, how do you live with it? I think the rest of us, the guilt. You know, I feel guilty about the smallest things. Like it'll eat at me, and then I got to go make it right. I'm like, okay, no more guilt, right? I feel guilty about everything. Like when I get an attitude or something with my wife, I'll feel guilty about that. So how are they just sitting there going about their day to day? Do you think that they're fearful? Like, oh, I wonder if today's the day that they're finally going to bust me for that murder, or is this just one of many murders that they'll never confess to? Or is it possible that some people commit murder? It's just like a one-off. They do it one time and they never do it again, and they just do their best to conceal that secret. Like, what is going on through these folks' heads? Because this guy had other charges that were sexually related. Goat Dog says they made it a law that you can take a child of any age and drop them off at any police station or fire station without any charge being filed against you. The fact that this still happens is disgusting. Well, yeah, I mean, the type of people that would commit a crime like this or against a young child, they're not right in the head. They're not going to do something logical, right? Killing isn't logic. There's no logic in committing murder against a young child. There's nothing logical about that. What you're talking about here, Goat Dog, is logical. Like, hey, if you can't take care of this child, you know, give him to us. We have access to resources where we could step in, and then you can go about your business. You don't have to harm this child, neglect this child, or put this child in harm's way. Well, we have laws in place now. We'll welcome you in, and you have immunity. The psychopathic killer isn't thinking that way. They're thinking, I would like to kill this child anyway. I'm not going to go put myself, I'm not going to go be on camera. I'm not going to go do this. I'm not going to let this come back and bite me. And part of me just wants to kill anyway.
Look at it as we could, and hoping for some technology where we might be able to get some DNA evidence eventually. I took it over in 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's true, Mustang. It could have just escalated, It's gotten so bad and evolved so bad that she didn't realize that she had gone too far this time. But yeah, that does happen. Some children are just born into abuse. Even as infant, they're being smacked, dropped, hitten. It's awful.
And began looking for a company that we could send this DNA that we had for testing, and that's what we did. We were able to get a profile of DNA for the Daryl, eventually led to Daryl Goggins. So he was arrested yesterday, and he's in the Irving jail right now.
See, to me, this is the guy that represents the good question that was asked, right? You could be the smartest person in the world, but if you're not asking the right questions, you're not going to be tapping into the information that's even relating to what you're trying to accomplish. So this is the guy that they're kind of saying, hey, he stepped in. He knew which company to go to. He knew which tests needed to be ran and which evidence needed to be preserved. Right. So he's the guy that came in and asked all the right questions.
Next, I'd like
you
to
don't have much to
podium,
say.
Retired Sergeant Tom Rowan. Tom Rowan worked on this case from 1994 through his retirement in 2016. Was very instrumental in keeping this case going. Sergeant.
This is a great day. These cases that you get assigned stay with you forever. This case was assigned to me in 1994. DNA technology was limited.
So for an investigator, it looks like this is one of those cases that haunted him. Kind of like the Flora Fires case is going to haunt that town and those who are investigating it. And probably a lot of other investigators throughout the country and across the globe, really. There's those cases that are just going to haunt them. So this is really good that he was able to get closure on this case, something that would have haunted him until his last day.
At that time. So we continued looking at the case, kept trying to generate leads. When new technologies came around, we would send things off for testing, but we never could get a DNA profile. I had other detectives look at the case just in case I might have missed something. And it just kept going down the same road of no leads, nothing new. I retired in 2016. I stayed in touch with Detective Curtis. We talk periodically about cold cases still to this day.
He's projecting a little bit of his guilt. He's like, damn, he's like, I didn't drop the ball because it's a cold case, right? How does a case become cold? It's not solved early on. Well, he represents the early on in her case. So he's kind of putting it out there like, hey, don't blame me. I did everything. I even had other investigators step in to get a second opinion. But I mean, she was killed by her neighbor who had priors.
He told me the great news of getting a profile from new technologies, and that was just a great day. And then he called me yesterday and told me that they have an arrest. And I wish Megan was still here. It's just a great weight lifted off your shoulders. And
Yeah. Remember, he's the one that had to sit down with the family while the emotions were still high. So he has that connection, right? He has that. They've put him in charge of the justice. Like, you owe us this justice. If you're the man in charge of this investigation, we put that responsibility on you. So he's been carrying that around, and we're watching it in real time kind of being lifted off.
her dad did not live to see this great day. So anyway, Detective Curtis is one of the top detectives in the Metroplex, and I'm extremely proud of him. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Before we go on, I want to introduce to you two very, very special people. The first is Bridget Johns. Bridget is the sister of Megan. Bridget was 9 years old at the time of this horrible crime. And another person, Kelly Chance, who was very, very close to Megan as well. Megan was actually Kelly's maid of honor in her wedding. These two people have had to endure this for the last 30 years, and I want to take an opportunity for them to come talk to you about Megan.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you for being here. I think most importantly, we owe the largest debt of gratitude to the two gentlemen behind us here, Detective Rowan and Detective Curtis, who have fought tirelessly and have shown tremendous courage and diligence in continuing to fight for Megan. Also to Kelly, who, as one of her dearest friends for the last 30 years, has hounded these two poor gentlemen every September and October, asking what's new, what's going on, what can we do, what have we tried, what haven't we tried, and we all deserve a friend like Kelly. For my part,
think about it. When you don't have any suspects in a case like this, similar, kind of like the Delphi case, right? No suspects. Everybody becomes a suspect. Friends. Was it a mean teen? You know, the mean teen theory. Was it the family? You know, the murder happened in the house and they staged the crime scene to make it look like it was a kidnapping. The Odinism. You know, you everybody that you pass by wearing a blue jacket and blue jeans kind of scrunched up at the bottom and a weird little hat. Like, oh, could that be the killer? So these family members probably alienated all of her daughter's friends, anybody that knew her, because of fear that it could be the killer. Kind of like the movie Scream.
you know, as Chief said, I was 9 years old when Megan died, and you know, it was the rest of my life up till this day that I've gone without having my sister here. So as hard as that's been, I also wanted to extend some hope to families that continue to live with the unresolved loss of a loved one, that even after 30 years, 8 months, and 6 days, God's timing can prevail. So I hope you can take some encouragement from that. And thank you again to Detective Curtis and Sergeant Rowan. Kelly?
Goat Dog. Yeah, shout out to Sheriff Grady Judd. One of the last male role models left in the world. Goat Dog says, you know who I like watching is Sheriff Grady Judd. I think if I was retirement age, I would retire to the county where he's the sheriff. I love his press conference. That's Florida, isn't it?
I just want to say that, you know, almost 31 years, you know, what is it, 30 years, 8 months, 6 days later, we get an arrest. And having her family and friends all waiting, praying for this day to come says a lot about who Megan was more than anything. And Megan was a beautiful person, a beautiful soul, and we've been robbed. And it's time for justice for Megan. Justice for Megan.
How the hell can somebody just step in for no reason and just erase you? Like this piece of shit right here, Daryl Patrick Goggins. I picture a man with a mind full of madness, right? Watching mental health, deterioration, maybe alcohol brain rot or something. A mixture of mental health, childhood, his own childhood abuse, his own war stories, mixed with some kind of rage, probably directed at his mother. So we got this recipe for disaster right next to this beautiful creature. It's not fair. We just go about life being part of the true crime community. But really what the true crime community is the reality community. Like we're looking at what's really going on. We're looking at the statistics of what's going on. We're taking in-depth looks into what's really going on, deep dives. We're evaluating what's happening to the victims, the killers, their histories, their relationships. So people might call it the true crime community. I call it the reality community, right? We're looking at the reality of life. You step outside of your door and you go into your local grocery store, there's killers in that grocery store with you. There's child molesters around you. There's pedophiles. There's sick, sadistic sex traffickers. And all day they target and they look to victimize. What do? Oh, can I afford this? Do I have a coupon for that? Excuse me, sir. You know, and you're walking right next to a damn killer. You don't even know it. That's the reality. It's scary. So if you're like me and you're the paranoid one of the family, big up to the paranoids. Because when the shit pops off, who's going to be the one ready? The paranoid mofo in the family. What's going on, Frederica? All right, let's look a little bit into Daryl here. All right, stop sharing. All right, Daryl Patrick Goggins, 61, was arrested on June 10th, 2025, and charged with capital murder in the 1994 fatal stabbing, of Megan Beth Johns, his next-door neighbor at the time, in Irving, Texas. Johns, 29, was found dead in her apartment on October 5th, 1994. So it looks like we got the ages mixed up. So not 1929. After failing to show up for work with multiple stab wounds and no signs of forced entry, suggesting she knew her attacker. Her apartment was ransacked with a VCR and jewelry missing. And evidence included a partial palm print in blood and a carpet with blood drops. So wouldn't you check the neighbor? Yeah, I feel like they dropped the ball. This guy's looking for a VCR and jewelry. He's obviously has a drug addiction. That's what happens, right? When these guys are, pretty much under psychosis, really drug-induced, maybe meth, heroin, cocaine, most likely meth, crack. Well, you get to a point where you've sold all your shit Then you go and you start plotting and scheming on your family, friends, and neighbors. Well, if your neighbor is a good friend of yours, you go over there, hey, you try to run a scam on her to get her VCR and maybe try to get her distracted so you can go in and get her jewelry, or you're just straight up caught burglarizing. Yeah, you might kill to hide that fact if you're a psychopath. Yep. So I'm thinking drug field. He wants to get high. Him being a psychopath, his first thought is to eliminate the witness, not to face the fact that he's got an addiction. You know, a normal person would get busted. The cops would come and say, oh, this is embarrassing, dude. You're robbing your neighbor. Yes, I have a drug addiction. I need help. This is obviously rock bottom. There's your normal addiction path, right? You would think. But for a psychopath, doing the same thing, person catches you, you're robbing a place to fuel your drug addiction. Oh, well, I'll kill her. Goat Dog, yeah, I believe that there are a lot more serial killers and just overall shitty people in the world than people realize. I agree. A lot of fake people. I think it's an epidemic. You watch those people at those protests, they're all pieces of shit. Yeah, all of them. All of them. That reminds me, in Florida, I guess, they said, hey, if you're protesting on the street and you surround somebody's vehicle and start bashing in their windows and start jumping on top of the vehicle, they can run you over. And I always thought that should have been legal. Like, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to sit there while an angry mob rips your children out of your car? Or you, for that matter? Like, I don't think that you should just be sacrificed to the mob. Like, that's bullshit. So big shout out to Florida for that shit. I think it was DeSantis. You know what I mean? Like, fuck. Blocking ambulances. Like, I'm getting old. And then one time I had that scare that I told you guys about where I kind of seized up. And they told me that I had all this high cholesterol and at risk of heart attack and stroke. Like, I don't want to be stuck in an ambulance in the middle of some protest and die. I would hate that. That would suck. And I would definitely hate to hear one of my family members meeting that same fate, or even a friend. We all know it's all political warfare anyway. Enemies of the United States is what they are. Has nothing to do with Mexico, illegal immigration. It's just all political warfare. That will soon turn into actual warfare. All right, so that's the Megan Johns case. Congratulations to that investigative team for getting that book closed. Congratulations. All right, let's go to P. Diddy. How many of you are keeping up with that shit? I'm not quite sure what charges he's guilty of, exactly what's going on, but we're going to take a closer look here. Goat Dog. Trump mentioned the other day he's going to look into making it illegal to burn the American flag. Now, that's bullshit. See, there's a lot of things that I don't agree with Donald Trump on, like the whole anchor baby thing. If you make it really hard to get into the United States, then you don't have to worry about the whole quote unquote anchor baby, right? Because back in the day, that's the only thing that we had in common as Americans. You know, that's what made us American. We were born on this soil. So if you make it really hard to get into the United States of America, and somehow your mother from another country can get into this country because she wants you to be born here, like, hey, that's the flag. You know, she planted her flag. But right, that's back in the day when it was difficult. Now you can just walk across the border, have a child here, and you get all the benefits that we've been paying into for our entire lives, for generations. Some of our family members gave their blood, sweat, and tears. So I think once you make it difficult again to get into the country illegally, then you don't have to worry about that. It'll become a non-issue. But when it comes to burning the American flag, you should have the right to do that. You should have the freedom to do it. You should have the freedom to say what you want to say. And I don't even care if it's racial. Yeah, you might get punched in the face, but it's illegal to punch people in the face who have the freedom of speech. So you'll get punched in the face and then you'll go to jail. That's what should happen. People should be free. When I was young, they used to have these KKK rallies, and they were the most embarrassing things to watch. But nobody got riled up. Everybody just laughed at them. And they all knew who they were now. Like, hey, here's the racist right there. They're not hiding their face. Everybody was free to do what they want. There was a group of local people kind of protesting, not getting violent, but mostly just laughing. And that shit would happen all the time. Nowadays, people get so charged up about everything. They're so emotional. It's all by design. Like, you guys don't even realize that you're victims of it when you get all excited about it. Like, oh, I want to kill Donald Trump, or I love Donald Trump. Like, it's okay to back your guy during an election, right? During a campaign. That's what MAGA was. It was a campaign thing. It's not a lifestyle choice. It's, you know, you did what you did to get your guy in, which was very important in my opinion. But now that's over with. It's like, you know, he's done with all that, and he's not going to be right all the time. Call him out when he's wrong, and you lift him up when he's right. Goat Dog, I think maybe if you want to burn it on your own personal property, it's okay. But to burn an American yeah, I mean, there should be laws against burning things in public. Yeah. So if it's illegal to burn something in a public street, let's say it's just a piece of fabric, then you should be charged with that, not charged with burning a flag. That's what America is all about, is being able to burn the flag. That's it. That's the whole purpose, right? Some people might think it's disgusting, which I do. I don't agree with that. Like, you're burning a flag that represents your freedom to burn the flag. So in a way, you're celebrating it, but then it depends on who's lighting the match. If you have somebody wearing a communist flag and they're burning the American flag, that's not cool. Jill says, Trump said if Diddy gets locked up, he will pardon Diddy. No, he said he would consider it. He says, I don't know anything about it. But he's like, oh, Diddy? He's like, yeah, I'll take a look at it. But he never said he would pardon him. He said he would consider it. I don't think he knows the details about it, though. I don't think he's follows up on true crime. He's a little busy getting shot at. Or getting us into a war. One of the two that I'm not happy about. CJK. Now some liberal federal judge says Trump can't use the California National Guard. I don't think he has a choice. Like I said, this has nothing to do with brown people, white people, black people. This is political warfare. This is socialism and communism versus capitalism. That's all it is. Burn the bras. Burn the bras. I'll burn mine. My man's ear. Yeah, tell that to the men and women who died for that flag. Well, Frederica, that's what they died for. What do you think they're dying for? They're dying for your right to burn the flag. So to burn the flag, you're celebrating it. But yes, you're also disrespecting the men and women who die for it. So there could be consequences to that. But it's better to do it in public so that we know if you're burning American flag, we know that you're not a patriot. You don't give a shit about the people who died for that flag. And you're right to burn it in front of everybody. And you're right to vote on the laws that protect you from me kicking in your teeth. To me, that's what America is all about. Nonviolence, being able to offend people, and then those offended being able to retaliate by shaming. Oh, you're a Nazi? I get to shame you. It doesn't mean I get to dox you and kill your dog and drag you into a violent mob and beat you into an inch of your life. There's just no harmony. All right, let me close some of these down. Let's take a look at the P. Diddy trial. P. Diddy Combs, prominent hip-hop mogul, is currently on trial in Manhattan federal court, facing charges of racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, and transportation to engage in prostitution. The trial, which began on May 12th, 2025, is in its fifth week as of June 13th, 2025, and is expected to last approximately 2 months. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges, and if convicted, he could face life in prison. The case has drawn widespread attention due to Combs' celebrity status, the graphic nature of the allegations, and the involvement of notable witnesses. Miss Doglover Diddler is responsible for Johnson & Johnson share price plummeting. Good one. Good one. That's in reference to all of the baby oil that was discovered at the scene of the crime. Right? They refer to them as freak-offs. Freak-offs were, I think, majority male-on-male contact. Hence the baby oil, I'm assuming. I think there was another well-known lubricant also found amongst the baby oil. CJK, I'm not on board with the pardons of the Chrisleys, but I do believe they were railroaded by the former administration targets. Goat Dog says Diddy is going away for a very long time. They approved way too many predicate acts against Diddy to reach the RICO Act level. He was a menace for 30 plus years. I don't know to which level you're correct, Goat Dog, but there are a lot of witnesses. But the defense is doing a really good job of kind of swaying the narrative. So he may be probably charged with a couple things, but I don't know if any of these big ones are going to stick or not yet. I'm still looking into the case. So that's kind of what we're doing today. We're looking into it together. I wanted to put a emphasis on most of the witness testimony and their credibility and things like that. because they have witnesses like Kanye West. So I'm trying to figure out what the hell's going on. CJK, my dad was a Purple Heart recipient in Nazi Germany, so flag burning is a sore spot for me. But imagine if you weren't allowed to burn a flag, right? What is it that you're fighting for? Like if I can't say fuck Donald Trump while standing in the White House, what am I fighting for? Let's say I tore, it's kind of like when you're standing in the Middle East or an Islamic country and you burn a holy book, the Quran. Like, should you be stoned to death? No, you should be free to do that. You should be free to do whatever you want if it doesn't impose on anybody else. I should be able to say, fuck the United States, because that is the United States. To have the ability to burn that flag, to say no to God, not only no to God, but F your God, burn my flag, curse my president, and anybody else I see fit, swing racial slurs from a rooftop, and walk freely on these streets, as long as I'm not taking anybody else's right to do so away at the same time. So when you're talking about family members that went and died in wars, they are protecting all of it, not just what you decide to pick and choose is valuable to you and what you respect, but for everybody. And that's what they died for. And God bless them. Yep. Freedom. We should be able to deport people like Richard Allen. Nope, he's going to stay right here and rot in a prison where people can keep a good eye on him. Right? America will handle its own. It's another thing I didn't agree with Trump on. He was trying to send Americans to El Salvador. I'm like, no, we can handle it here. Too many want socialism, and they're here for that. Well, it's much worse than that, CJK. It's ideological subversion. It's been going on for probably strongly now for the last 30 years. And that's how you get a state like California. You have to completely corrupt an entire generation so that when they become police officers, they're already subverted. When they become politicians, they're also victims of that. You have to change the culture. Take somebody's patriotism away from them. But you have to do it almost within 2 generations. You have to corrupt a child and ensure that child grows up to corrupt their child. So now it's 2 generations deep. The socialists, this hatred for America, this want for a revolution. What are you going to deport him to? Antarctica? Just shoot him into space. Send him on some kind of like suicide mission where he has to go look for aliens. Send him through, make him a guinea pig for like time travel or something. The Philadelphia experiment. Shit like that. I'll be all for that. Go ahead and include Rex when he's convicted. Brian Koberger when he's convicted. The First Amendment to me is about having the right to say and think anything. But when you go beyond words, that's where you lose me. Yep. It should always be nonviolent. That's why Martin Luther King was so powerful. But at the same time, on the contrary, when it comes to Malcolm X, who was a conservative, by the way, most people don't realize that Malcolm X was a conservative, just like me. What's up, Misty? Cindy Lean says, I have hate for Diddy. I've hated Diddy since Tupac came out with Machiavelli. One of the greatest albums ever, by the way. All right. The prosecution alleges that Combs led a criminal enterprise from at least 2008 to 2024 using his business empire, including Bad Boy Entertainment and Combs Enterprises, to abuse, threaten, and coerce women into participating in drug-fueled sexual encounters known as freak-offs, described as prolonged orgies involving male sex workers, which Combs allegedly orchestrated, directed, and recorded. Jeez. Yep, generational curses. That's how ideological subversion works. You take people's culture and their pride away from them, and you target as much of a generation as you can. And then you get what you're seeing now in LA and the riots. People that hate America only want the rule of law when it serves them. Yeah, I agree with that, CJK. Also, in my opinion, we need to start with $1 million fines for those large companies employing illegals. For one, they're creating the demand. It's also slave labor in a way, and it's taking away from American jobs. And when Americans don't have a job, they could be, they could turn to drugs, become homeless, and then their entire family falls apart. The strength of a family starts with a good job in the household. A good, strong family is what it's all about. And unfortunately, humans are very emotional, especially people don't want to say it, but men, we're not emotional, but we have the strongest emotions with the very few that we have. It's important to us to be able to take care of our family, to be a leader. You take that away, and you take away everything. Everything will fall apart. Well, actually, you take away God first, right? You take away God and his connection to the head of the household, and then you remove the head of the household altogether. And then you introduce all these drugs and all of the bullshit, and everybody falls apart. So it all starts with employment for me. And I think for the economy, it does as well. Cindy, I'm right there. Tupac for life. Fuck Bad Boy. I wish we could play that song, Hit 'Em Up. It'd be the quickest copyright hit I've ever gotten. You're referring to Puff Daddy, Frederica? Yeah, this guy's a piece of shit. Like when other countries dump their chemical trash on us, but I see what Sleuth was getting at, Richard Allen. Sit your ass down where we can see you. Yeah, no, you're our problem. If anybody's going to torture you, it's going to be us. Cindy, there will never be another Tupac. I agree. I've been a fan of his since way back from Tupacalypse. I remember stealing his CD from what we referred to as a Sam Goody in the middle of a mall. Tupacalypse. I think it was $12.99 at the time. And I didn't even know I was a fan of Tupac, but when I didn't know he was a part of Digital Underground. But I was listening to them also before that, and then I learned later that he was part of that crew. Goat Dog. The freak offs don't bother me. Yeah, if it's consensual, hell yeah. I'm not here to kink shame you. I don't care what your sexual preference is either. The recording of people without their knowledge, that's where you overstep legality, in my opinion. Yeah, that's on some Epstein shit. Also, he's being charged for trying to blackmail people. He's trying to sextort them. He was basically the black Jeffrey Epstein. I bet he has CIA ties. Yeah, there's claims of that right now. There's people talking about that, Go Dog. Sorry, he has no respect for women. Who's that? P. Diddy? Obviously. Or unless you're talking about somebody else. Oh, yes. Yeah, there's a video of him beating his girlfriend in a hallway. The dude is a lunatic. I wouldn't doubt if he had bodies under his, bodies under him. He's most likely a killer. All right. So he uses violence, kidnapping, and intimidation to silence victims and protect his public image. Engage in related criminal activities, including arson, bribery, and drug distribution as part of racketeering conspiracy. I remember hearing about ketamine, drugging his people at the party with ketamine and shit. The indictment initially filed September of 2024 was followed by 2 superseding indictments, expanding the scope of the charges. Key evidence includes text messages, financial records, social media posts, and physical items like drugs, guns, and lubricants found during searches of Combs' properties in Miami and Los Angeles. The defense's position. Combs' defense team, led by attorneys Mark Agnifilo and Tenny Garagos, argues that the encounters were consensual and the prosecution is mischaracterizing Combs' relationships and lifestyle. Witnesses, including former partners and employees, have financial or personal motives to testify against him, potentially exaggerating or fabricating claims. The charges are now an overreach, and the prosecution has failed to prove the elements of sex trafficking or racketeering beyond a reasonable doubt. The defense has also accused the prosecution of misconduct, filing multiple motions for a mistrial, all denied as of June 13th, and raised concerns about limited access to Combs in the Metropolitan Detention Center, impacting trial preparation. Right? Defense 101. Same thing we saw in the Delphi trial. We can't get to our client. We can't represent him properly, right? It's just all lies. It's just tactics that are used. It's defense 101. Once you learn the tactics, it becomes old. It's your responsibility out there not to fall hook, line, and sinker for a defense team's third-party suspects, third-party narrative. You're not supposed to fall for that shit. It's right out of their basic play, their first page of their playbook. Yeah, there's not much on him in my notes. Let's see. What time is it? Oh shit, we're at the 2-hour mark. Hold on. So I have all of these witnesses here. All right, week 1, May 12th through the 16th, opening statements. Prosecutors outlined Combs as the head of a criminal enterprise, while defense emphasized consensual relationships and questioned witness credibility. So they're basically just putting their spin on it, right? Which theory will the jury or the judge buy? Cassie Ventura testimony. Combs' ex-girlfriend, R&B singer Cassandra Cassie Ventura, was the prosecution's star witness, testifying for nearly 20 hours over 4 days. She alleged physical and sexual abuse by Combs, including being forced into freak-offs involving male escorts, often under the influence of drugs like ecstasy and ketamine. Combs assaulted her multiple times, including a 2016 hotel hallway beating captured on security footage, for which he paid $50,000 to bribe and suppress. So I don't know if he sent his goons or his guys or his attorney or what up to the security room. Like, how would you even facilitate a bribe like that? You would need to make sure you're giving it to the right people, right? That's crazy. So that's some criminal enterprise shit right there. She read sexually explicit text messages exchanged with Combs, detailing their 11-year relationship, 2007 to 2018. Other witnesses, a professional stripper, Daniel Phillip, testified about Combs' parties, setting the stage for the freak-off allegations. Ventura, visibly pregnant during testimony, gave birth to her third child, a son, with husband Alex Fine on or around May 27th. So she's definitely going to get a lot of sympathy there from the jury. Well, I guess it would have been better if she was pregnant, right? Sitting in the jury seat. Okay, week 2, May 19th through the 23rd. Rapper Scott Muscudi, Kid Cudi, testified about his brief 2011 to 2012 relationship with Ventura and alleged incidents involving Combs. Combs allegedly broke into Cudi's Los Angeles home after learning of the affair, prompting Cudi to want to fight him. Cudi's Porsche was destroyed in 2012 by a Molotov cocktail, which he and Ventura attributed to Combs. Cudi testified that Combs denied involvement during a 2012 meeting, but appeared to be lying. Ventura told Cudi that Combs physically abused her, including hitting and kicking. Mark says, I read Kim Porter's memoir, and it makes sense once you see the big picture. Yeah. It seemed like accusations at first, but now... Goat Dog. Tupac's nickname was Duke. He was a roadie for Shock G. Yep, I remember that. Was on Get Around. He was actually friends with Biggie before Biggie signed with Diddy, and Jimmy Henchman and him shot at Quad Studios. Yeah, it looks like Miss Dog Lover, she has had her baby. Looks like she had the baby. Let's see. I just had it. Oh, yeah. She had the baby around May 27th. What happened to the dog? Okay, Mila Morales testimony. A makeup artist for Combs and Ventura, Morales described a 2010 incident where Combs allegedly attacked Ventura, leaving her with a swollen eye, busted lip, and knots on her head. Yeah, usually when you get in a fight, you know, you kind of blocking your face and you have your head down a little bit, and you're taking knuckles to the top of your head. They'll leave these little knots. So that means he was hitting her with the closed fist, like you would hit a man. Morales took Ventura to her home to recover, and a doctor friend examined her, though Ventura declined to visit the ER. George Kaplan's testimony. Combs' former assistant testified about cleaning hotel rooms littered with liquor bottles, baby oil, and white powder suspected to be drugs. To protect Combs' image, Kaplan also packed Combs' medicine bag with pills, including ketamine. Evidence: photos of drugs, magic mushroom pills, crystal rock-like substances, a .45 handgun, 56 bottles of baby oil. Damn. Oh, here it is. Astroglide lubricant found in Combs' Miami home were shown in court. So not just baby oil, but Astroglide. Week 3, May 26th through the 30th. Deontay Nash's testimony. A celebrity stylist and friend of Ventura, Nash testified that he witnessed Combs beating Ventura and threatening to release sex tapes to her parents' workplaces. So that's sextortion right there. That's a federal crime. Nash intervened during one attack, jumping on Combs' back. He maintained contact with Combs afterward, denying any intent to sue him. Thank you, Mustang. Goat Dog. Diddy killed a bunch of people by making it look like pneumonia. And he also gave Jamie Foxx an Advil right before he had that stroke and ended up in a coma and almost died. Yeah, I've kind of followed that conspiracy a little bit. Yeah, Kanye's a weird dude. He's like doing songs about Hail Hitler and all kinds of weird shit. But I feel like it's kind of like a metaphor, like burning the flag is, maybe. I don't know what the hell he's doing. I don't know if he truly buys into the philosophy of Hitler. I don't fucking know, but it's weird. Kid Cudi's dog was abused and locked in a bathroom when they torched the Porsche and broke in. Oh, that's fucked up. Miss Dog Lover, thank you so much for the super chat. Thanks for clarifying. Right, remember, guys, if you can't hit the Cash App, hit the thumbs up. Hit the like button. Okay, let's go to Don Hughes' testimony. A clinical and forensic psychologist testified as a blind expert. We love our experts, right? On domestic violence, sexual assault, and trauma bonds, explaining why victims may stay in abusive relationships or delay reporting abuse. The defense unsuccessfully moved to strike her testimony, arguing it bordered on pseudoscience. So they're kind of being proactive, right? The prosecution's going to say, hey, if he was beating you, what the hell did you stick around for there, buddy? Well, we know what that is. All right, let's catch up on this. Oh, the word I was looking for, Stockholm. Stockholm syndrome is what they're talking about there. Right? The prosecution's going to say, why'd you stick around then if he was so mean? Well, I had fucking Stockholm syndrome. What do you think? So that's what this expert is doing, setting the stage for that. Answering the question before the prosecution even has a chance to ask it. Kind of like in the Karen Reed case when the expert, they're keeping the taillight cold with dry ice, knowing that the prosecution's going to hit them hard on, hey, well, did you keep it controlled? Did you control the temperature? So they, they're just being proactive. Okay, so explaining why victims may stay in abusive relationships or delay reporting abuse, the defense unsuccessfully moved to strike her testimony. Capricorn Clark's testimony. Combs' ex-assistant was mentioned in connection with an LA Fire Department investigation into the fire bombing of Cudi's car. But her brother reportedly told investigators she wanted nothing to do with the probe. Mistrial motion. On May 28th, the defense moved for a mistrial, alleging prosecutorial misconduct over questions implying Combs destroyed fingerprint evidence from Cudi's car fire. Judge Aaron Subramanian struck the testimony but denied the mistrial. Mia's testimony. A former assistant to Combs, testifying under the pseudonym Mia, described verbal, physical, and sexual abuse by Combs, including an alleged sexual assault on his birthday, November 4th, 2015. Defense attorney Brian Still challenged her credibility by highlighting social media posts where she praised Combs on that date, which she said she shoved down to cope. Her testimony continued into week 4. Week 4, Jane's testimony. A key accuser testifying under the pseudonym Jane took the stand starting June 5th, describing participation in freak-offs referred to as hotel nights, with Combs and male escorts often under emotional pressure and drug influence. She said it was ecstasy. She testified feeling lonely and sad during these encounters. A love contract and a 2024 fight where Combs allegedly ordered her to perform oral sex on an escort. And I found that in the Washington Post. Text message from 2021 to 2022 where she appeared to engage positively with Combs about hotel nights, which she explained as attempts to avoid angering him. Seems like more Stockholm syndrome. She admitted to still loving Combs despite resenting his lifestyle. Derek Ferguson's testimony, June 3rd. The former CFO of Bad Boy Entertainment from 1998 to 2012 and COO of Revolt TV testified about managing Combs' finances, including a suspicious $20,000 transaction in December of 2011 involving Ventura's father, Roderick Ventura, which CNN analyst Misty Maris suggested could indicate illegal conduct. Let's see, where was I at? Brianna Bongolan's testimony. Another accuser alleged Combs dangled her over a 17th floor balcony, prompting a second mistrial motion from the defense for alleged false testimony, which was denied on June 10th. Judge's warning. On June 5th, Judge Subramanian threatened to remove Combs from the courtroom for attempting to interact with the jury by nodding vigorously during Bongolan's testimony, raising concerns about influencing jurors. Right? That star power. Kind of reminds me of Johnny Depp. He, every little thing he said, everybody would just laugh. He just has that, the charisma. He can just control a room. Probably always has been able to. As of June 10th, Jane remained on the stand, undergoing cross-examination by defense attorney Tenny Garagos. She discussed hotel nights, footage that Combs liked to recap, and her efforts to positively reinforce his preferences to avoid conflict. That's Stockholm syndrome. Emotional pressure and fascination with Combs, despite periods of separation, admitting that she chose to reconnect with him. Her testimony is considered critical to the sex trafficking allegations as it addresses consent versus coercion. So upcoming witnesses today, prosecutors plan to call a federal agent and Jonathan Perez, a former assistant to Combs during his relationship with Jane. Kanye West's appearance was today. Kanye West appeared in court to support Combs, a notable event given their past collaborations and public personas. The prosecution's timeline, prosecutors are ahead of schedule, aiming to rest their case by June, though recent updates suggest it may extend into the following week. The defense's case could prolong the trial past the July 4th weekend, depending on their witness list. That's it. That's everything that I have on the P. Diddy trial. See what you guys are talking about. Kanye West is mentally ill. Don't mess with dogs or cats. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. All of you who have been hitting the Cash App, it means a lot to me. Even $1 here, $1 there. I appreciate the tip. It kind of keeps me going. Makes me feel like we're doing something worthwhile here. If just keeping each other entertained, while we learn a little bit about things that we're interested in, things that might even scare us a little. One thing you will get here on this channel is consistencies, no family bashing. And if it's going to be a conspiracy, you're going to know that from the get-go. Thank you, Mark. And if you can't hit the Cash App, hit the like button. You should go live later to talk about Karen Reed. I'm not following, but several came in last time. Yeah, I'm just waiting for them to make a decision. Do we know? Right now in our poll, we asked, is Karen Reed going to be found guilty? Apparently the jury is deliberating today. But I don't think it's going to be that easy. So I'm expecting maybe tomorrow or the following day. So is she guilty, not guilty, or hung jury? 49% of you in the chat says she's guilty. 31% say no, it'd probably be a hung jury. Could be. But I think they'll get her on vehicular manslaughter because of hitting him, the alcoholism, and then most likely not realizing that she hit him or left him out there, or the inability to prove it, right? If there's doubt there, they can't go that route. And I think there's plenty of doubt there, but there's no doubt that she hit him, in my opinion. All right, let's go ahead and end that poll. 49% of you win with guilty. It was really good to see all of you. Frederica, CJK, Mark, Cindy, Mustang, CJK, Miss Dog Lover, Goat Dog. Thank you for your participation. Special thanks to Mustang for the super sticker. Remember, we are 100% crowdfunded. We accept Cash App, Venmo, Zelle. You guys, we have merch for sale on sleuthintuition.com. But if you can't hit the Cash App, just hit the like button, guys. It's right there. Big shout out to Mustang. Cindy Lean. She's been with the Sleuth crew for 26 months. That means a lot to me, Cindy. Thank you for your support. And the super chat, Miss Dog Lover, thank you as well for the super chat. Now let's catch up on the chat here. Kanye West is mentally ill. I don't know. It's either that or he tries to act like it. All right, I need to go way down here. Cindy, I haven't been following the Karen Reed or others than Sleuth. Interesting to find out how round 2 ends. Let me see what's going on. Mark, thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, guys, thank you for all of the support. Thanks for hanging out. If you're part of the replay crew, you know exactly what to do. Hit the like button first on your way in and a comment on your way out. It's really not that difficult, guys. Let me know what you think, replay crew. Big shout out to all of you who caught the live stream. Thank you. But I think that's going to do it. I think we're out of here. If it is possible, we might have like a call-in tonight, live stream, depending on what's going on here at the house. But if I have some free time, we'll go live and we'll open up the phone lines, and I'll see you guys a little bit later today, if permitted. Take care of yourselves. Have a safe weekend, and don't do anything that I wouldn't do. Peace.